of a symbol of restoring justice within our community.
Something had to happen. And like I say, Ralph already discussed this with the court and explained to the court that if this doesn't stop, if these practices that we can describe do not stop, then violence is the only outcome. It's called natural sequelae, and a person's medical condition turning chronic. Anxiety, frustration, depression, these are all known aspects of natural sequelae of a condition turning chronic. The Compensation Board is 100% aware of how this works. You know, as one example to play you emotionally, they don't render a lot of decisions until November, December. Because very simply, Christmas is coming and you've got your family to look forward to. I used to work in the oil industry. I was making $750 a day plus expenses. Everything was fine. And how I felt the first time they did it to me when I had to go to Sanus Anonymous and I had to go to the food bank. It's the most degrading thing that any human being can ever have to go through. To watch my kids growing up year after year suffering. To watch my wife having to work 2 and 3 jobs. It's just too much. Right after Patrick Clayton was arrested and put within the remand, I booked a visit to go in and see Patrick. And in fact, we both cried about what happened. We spent 20 minutes crying about the simple fact that I told him that what he did, I would have done myself if I did not have a family. But they took his family away from him. So in his mind's eye, he had absolutely nothing left to lose. And I assured Patrick that I am borderline to being in exactly the same position. I know exactly what these people have done.
So for the record, today is Sunday, November the 8th, 2009. If you could tell us your name, full name.
Leslie Glenn Clayton.
And your relationship to Mr. Patrick Clayton.
Patrick's older brother.
Patrick's older. So when you were growing up with Patrick, could you tell me a little bit about Patrick as a child?
Oh, Patrick, he was always happy, smiling, always showing off those chiclets.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Who were you raised by?
Our mother and grandparents.
And tell me a little bit about your grandparents' background. What type of people were your grandparents?
My grandparents are very religious.
Fairly religious. And your mother?
Somewhat religious.
So it's safe to say that both of you are raised in somewhat of a religious, happy home?
Oh, exactly, yeah, for sure.
And Patrick, as he was growing up there, did he have any problems with other kids in his schools, or was he ever known to be violent?
No, not at all.
No, he was. What was he like? What would he do for his own activities as a child? What would he do?
He'd hang out with his friends and stuff, but at home and stuff, he's always cleaning and cooking and just helping around the house.
He likes to help around the house. He just likes to impress the family, kind of thing.
Oh, I would think.
Yeah.
Well, family is important, right? So.
Can you tell me a little bit about what his last few years, who his family has been to him here in Eddmonton?
His major role was his son.
His major role was his son. How old is his son?
6.
He's 6 years old?
Yeah.
And is he still with his, was he, before the incident that, at the W Workman Compensation Board, was he still with his girlfriend, or are they separated now?
No, they've been split up.
How long have they been split up for?
I have to say probably about 7-8 months.
So he tried about 3 years ago to let the Workman Compensation Board know that he was having some serious issues.
Yes.
And these serious issues, they're a matter of how much was he receiving in compensation benefits per month over the last few years?
I think it was approximately $495.
$495 a month is all he was receiving a month?
That's it.
And he's supposed to support himself and his son off $495.
That's correct.
And they were cutting him off. $495, they were cutting him off back then.
Yep.
And from what you remember, he split up with his former girlfriend approximately 7-8 months prior to the event.
Yeah, officially, I guess. It was on and off for the last couple of years.
And how was his visitation with his son?
He was getting his son every other weekend, but I'm not too sure what happened. He hasn't seen his son for about 3 months.
Does he have legal visitation rights?
Every second weekend.
And he wasn't seeing his son for 3 months. Do you know why he wasn't seeing his son for 3 months?
No idea. No, his ex-girlfriend was supposed to drop him off, and he'd be sitting there waiting for 2 to 4 hours on Fridays, just waiting.
And obviously, would he have seen you? You'd have seen this. Was he heartbroken, obviously, or?
I could see it in his eyes.
So, if you could confirm to me the story that Patrick was involved in crack cocaine, is there any merit to that story?
I'm not too sure. He was probably doing a little bit, but I don't know how he can afford it. He can afford his rent or food, or even to see his son.
Did he ever do drugs as a child, as a teenager?
No.
Most of his family life, most of his adult life, did he ever do it?
No.
So this would have been maybe breakdown recently. That what they're when they're talking about crack cocaine, was it maybe recent, maybe?
I would think it'd probably be like a recent or a random thing, but like I said, if he was doing it, I don't know how he's getting the money for it. I'm pretty sure that stuff is pretty expensive. You know, his fridge was empty. I lent him some money about 5-6 weeks prior, just to help him out, get him some food and whatnot.
Three years ago, your brother Patrick had some incidences with Workman Compensation Board, and there was an incident on the high level bridge.
Yeah, from what I understand, from what he told me, yes.
From what you're familiar with, what you remember him saying, could you tell us a little bit about what happened there 3 years ago?
He was having some problems with W.C.B. The usual BS, filling out forms, got cut off, filling out forms, jumping through hoops. So he did a little protest on the high level bridge, just as wanted to get some attention.
So that would have been approximately 2006, 3 years ago.
Yeah, I would think.
And he stood on the high level bridge, and apparently the story has it that they cordoned off the bridge to bring Patrick into temporary custody to take him to the hospital. Is this true?
Yes.
When he went to the hospital, apparently it was the Royal Alexander. Apparently he was released on his own, and from my understanding, he still owes a bill for the ambulance ride there. Is this true?
I believe so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So as the only family member in Eddmonton area that sees him, you'd know him probably better than anybody. What do you believe? What would you say is the reason he did what he did? There's been a couple of different stories coming in the newspapers, but would you believe it was because of simply a matter of a claim, or was it his son, or was it a combination? What do you believe?
I think it was a combination of both. He loves his son, and whenever he got his check, he'd be doing stuff with his son all the time. They'd be going to West Eddmonton Mall, going for walks, going to the park. You know, his son was never in rags. He'd always buy him some new clothes, and you know.
So he's spending all of his small amounts of $495 on his son.
Yeah, that's correct.
So you called the police, and what happened?
Well, I went out to Sherwood Park to see the RCMP. They were going to phone the Edmonton police because they had no jurisdiction. But I told the officer, I said, well, I gave my phone number and my name to contact them, and if they wanted to call me, then. But I knew that he wasn't going to hurt anybody.
How do you know he wasn't going to hurt anybody?
Oh, he's not a violent person at all.
Now, speaking of violence, I think that the mainstay of this issue is that he walked into a government building with a loaded gun. Can you tell me where